Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Viva La Cats. I'm your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied by my great friend, Steve Maurer, and we are here today to bring you the very best of the Bearcats every single week, as we do throughout the entire football and basketball season, and a little bit of the offseason, too. If you're new, thanks for checking us out. Please be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you listen, and make sure to check out our network as well with the 1012 Network. Always bringing some great coverage for the entire Big 12, which is very, very interesting this year, especially in basketball. And as well, shout out to our sponsors, Charlie Hustle, which we will show you a little merch later on the show. And we do actually have a new promo code too. So make sure you listen closely for that because it has changed very slightly, not a lot. But all of those things out of the way, Steve, we are starting off different for the first time on this podcast. We are starting off with a topic that does not revolve around men's sports. Why?
Well, because our women's basketball team, Justin, is currently 4-4 in the Big 12, 12-6 overall, and they not only have one, not two, not three, but four comeback victories in which they were down by double digits at some point within the game. So the broadcast for Saturday's game at Arizona State lovingly called them the Comeback Cats, and Katrina Merriweather, head coach of the women's basketball team, quote tweeted that and was like, "Why can't we just be the consistent Cats?" So I think we're working out a couple nicknames with Coach there, but it's been they're a treat to watch. I really am a fan of Jillian Hayes. I think I've talked about her a lot on the show and just how watching her is. And then she basically closed out the game for Cincinnati on Saturday. She scored 8 straight points to kind of turn the tide in the late moments of the fourth quarter and give the Bearcats a W on the road. So like I said, they're 4-4 in conference play. They've put together a pretty nice little resume there of wins, home and away. And there's a good chance that they can finish like top half of the league, if not higher. And for a program at UC that has historically not like past 10-15 years not been as great as the men's side, or just in general,
Right.
like not for fans of the women's basketball program not reaching the standards that you would like. It's just really great to see one of our own players come in and really change the entire vibe of the program. Now games are like really fun to watch. They have a really interesting team. They keep coming back from like double digit leads, so you can literally say like they are not out of any game. And
Right.
Jillian Hayes is just a stud. Like she should probably be first team all conference. And then a couple weeks ago they had Tanea Hilton go off for 22 points, 18 of those coming in the second half, and there was another 6 or 8 point run just by her in the late fourth quarter of that game against Colorado, which helped secure that win. Another win in which they were down by double digits at some point. So I'm sure Coach Merriweather would prefer that the Cats do not go down by double digits and just like coast out to a 20-25 point lead and then win comfortably. But you as a coach, you probably take any win you can get. And I don't know, Justin, to me, they're just a much more exciting product to watch. And I really
Oh, yeah.
enjoy what they're putting out there right now. Like Jillian had 25-9 on Saturday, and she is now the all-time record holder in the program for free throws made. She passed it with 504 on Saturday night, and now she's got 509 for her career, which is pretty crazy. So it's just like a testament to how often she gets to the line and how much of just a bruiser she is down the post, man. Like you get the ball to her on the block and she's going up with it, and like she's just very aggressive with it too. Like she goes up and like if you're in her way, you better watch out because you're getting bowled over when Jillian Hayes has the ball on the block. So it's just been refreshing to watch one team where like in a lot of our other sports, like no, I shouldn't say other. I'm sorry. A lot of the Bearcat sports that we don't always talk about as much on the show. I kind of like tuning in, watching every now and then because there's usually like not as not as high of stakes, or when you have not built up through your entire life watching a team, and
Right.
they've either not let you down so many times, or you get into certain habits and patterns. I think that's a great part about being a fan of like a college, is that you don't have to just watch the football and basketball team, men's basketball team. There are so many other teams that are wearing
Right.
that same logo, and it's almost like a European sports club, Justin, because there's so many different teams that are wearing like the logo, and you can just support the logo in so many different ways. So it's been just really awesome to watch them this year. And you know, I would not hesitate to see if they can make like a little bit of a late tournament run here. There's a couple of really good teams in the Big
Right.
12. I feel like they're still building up to that return to the NCAA tournament. But man, if they keep just coming back from 10 points down in all of their wins, then like I said, they're never out of a game, and they've been great at home as well.
Yeah. Well, and so this is actually something I wanted to mention too, because if you look at last year's finish for them, their final record was 14-17, 5-13 in conference. Now you look at it and you fast forward to this year from 14-17. So far, they're 12-6. So they've made some really dramatic improvements. They're 2 wins away from matching last year's win total with a lot of games left on the schedule. And like you said, I mean, you never know. They could make a deep turnaround and actually turn this into something where, who knows, maybe they could get there. It would be really nice for them to do that, especially in a year where it seems like the men's team might not actually do that, and have a team to watch in March. I mean, that's ultimately what we all want. That's what we hope for in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
Um,
I completely agree. So, and then this week they've got 2 games coming up. They're going to host tomorrow night. They host Houston, who is in the bottom fourth of the Big 12 Women's Conference basketball standings. So, I will say that is the one caveat for the 4-4 record, is that all of our wins have come against teams that are either around us or below us in the conference standings, which I won't complain about. You got to
but
win
hey,
the games.
TCOB,
Yep, you're
taking
right.
care of business.
You're exactly right. You are exactly right, my friend. So they are doing just that, and they will hopefully do that against Houston, and then they go to Baylor on Sunday, which should be a tough game.
Yeah.
The Baylor's had a very historically been great at women's basketball as well, so that'll be a tough one. But they've got some good home games coming up. They got right after this, they basically play the Midwest trio of Iowa State, Kansas, and Kansas State, all games at home, like back to back. So next four of the next 5 games are at home. The tickets are, if you want to buy a closer seat, you can buy them, but usually the tickets are like real but the tickets are really really like cost friendly. They're always running like deals and specials. I think they had like $1 hot dog night, or something like they have one. It's tomorrow night is dollar hot dog night, and it's also Greek night as well. So you know the quality of the basketball is great, and I really again, I just implore people, go watch Jillian Hayes while she's here, because she's one of those special athletes that same with Jordan Thompson, same with Ian Happ. She's going to be one of those players that were like, oh yeah, they're a stud in their next league, and we were able to watch them while they were at Cincinnati, and so she's just probably, hopefully, the next in that line of success.
Yeah, absolutely. And, kind of as a final mention, for all this, for those of you who aren't paying attention very closely, there is obviously interesting spread with how the Big 12 is shaking out for women's this year. As Steve mentioned, the Bearcats are sitting at 4-4, right in the middle of the table. Currently 3.5 games back from TCU, but um, I think everything in the next 4 or 5 games, like you said, really when you get to that 5th game, you're going to have Kansas State, which is one of the top teams in the conference. They're currently 7-1. But I think a lot of those games are winnable. You split those, you're in a really good situation. You win the majority of those, you're in a really good situation. And realistically, they should have a good shot. I mean, I think, again, like it's sort of the goal is like every single team and every single program in the athletic department, you want to see progress year after year. You don't want to see them take a nosedive. And this team has been moving up very consistently. And so I'm excited to see if they can take advantage of some of these games that they got coming up. And like you said, I mean, just really get to that top half of that conference. It's just going to show that improvement keeps moving. And who knows? I mean, this team could be dangerous by the time that conference tournament time comes around. So it could always have something interesting happen there too. You never
And they're
know.
going to be even more dangerous next year because Cincinnati is one of 7 schools this year. I was not real. I was kind of surprised that it was 7. That is like does seem like a lot, but
Yeah.
one of 7 schools, only 2 in the league in the Big 12 that have a player on both the men's and women's McDonald's All American teams, which is an awesome accomplishment. I don't think that's ever happened before for
Yeah.
Cincinnati, and it's been a while for the men's side. I don't know if it's ever happened for the women's side, so I'd have to look. But D. Alexander, Purcell Marion, current player, and as a senior there, and will be playing for Cincinnati this upcoming season. And she's been balling out, and she's made it her goal this year to win Purcell Marion their 4th straight state title
Which
in
is just
basketball.
nuts.
Yeah,
Just
just crazy.
crazy.
Yeah. So, like, if you have not been following that Purcell team too, they're good. So, a lot of positive things happen around this women's basketball program, and Katrina is just bringing in all these high level recruits to games as well. So, I think we definitely need to give them their much deserved appreciation and flowers and support. Like, go to the games, support them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this too, between the men's and women's team, this is the first player in a while too that has gotten that honor. Of course, now with Sean as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The last player, I think, the last player that we had was Lance. I could be
Yeah.
wrong on that, but I think Lance was the last time we had a McDonald's All American for the Bearcats. So to go that long and now to have 2, I think is great, and especially to have somebody of that quality for the women's team. I think as you've seen with almost sometimes more than men's basketball, but specifically with women's basketball, there's a lot of opportunities where that greatness can come from anywhere in any program. And I think there's a lot of opportunities here. So I'm really excited, and I hope that D can excel here. Um, you know, Along with everything else that we've been doing very well to make a lot of improvements. Hopefully, turn this into maybe a little bit of a powerhouse program here. You never know. Sometimes all it takes is one player to really turn things around. We know how that
You
goes here.
Yes, you're exactly right. To confirm, by the way, first ever McDonald's All American player in women's basketball program history. So, shout out. And by the way, there are not very many tickets left for Wednesday night's game against Houston, and tickets start at $6. So, if you're a fan of buildings like I am, and getting in the building, at times where you may not be able to, and just experiencing some basketball, the one interesting thing is that their bench is on the opposite side of the men's bench. So I don't know,
Hmm.
if that's
Yeah.
easier for like the locker rooms or if they like that better, but it
Right.
is weird to see it like that, because how many games have we seen,
The
Justin,
broadcast.
just over the years where
Yeah.
it's, they're on the left side of the screen when they pan over, like, for the men's
Mhm.
team. The women's team is on the right bench. So definitely a little bit of a eye catcher when you're just watching it for the first time. But we've said it before, we'll say it again. Use your ESPN Plus subscription for more than just football and men's basketball. There are so many different
Yes,
sports on there, and so many different athletes wearing that CPAW that deserve your support.
absolutely. That's a very nice cap on that. To move on to another ESPN Plus bound program that's not for the best reasons. Steve, we talked possibly about doing the thing, about just not even talking about them at all. But we have to, because I know that's why a lot of people listen to this podcast. Um, while we were speaking of the McDonald's All American thing, I will mention there was actually currently one player who was a McDonald's All American on this team, and that is Dylan Mitchell. For those of you who did not know, granted, was not a recruit directly through, got him via the transfer portal, but all is what it is. It's been a brick fest, and this is the part that really sucks, because when you look at the last few games that we've had, it's still just been this all over the place. You're good one night, bad one night. You're really bad for a few nights, and then maybe you figure it out, but then it's not enough. And unfortunately, in the past week, and especially since Steve was last on, um, the Texas Tech loss, unfortunately, was one of those nights where actually you figured out your offense and it just kind of went downhill and it didn't really work out. and they still got the better of you. And then you go on the road to BYU, um, you get punched in the mouth. You get punched in the mouth. And again, another brick fest. This is the part that I think really sucks because I talked about this, last week and throughout the season as well, how good the men's team has been at consistently putting up great defensive numbers and holding teams to a low score, and has been able to at least make it a rock fight and give themselves a chance. The last two games, they let up 81 and 80 after only letting up 72 as the high point for the entire season, which also included a very good Arizona team. Shout out for Steve's local team there. But like I said, you go on the road into Provo and you get your teeth kicked in. And it's just kind of demoralizing at this point. And I think everybody's just really just you pick up the remote, you go to turn on the game, and you're just okay, let's do this. And then watch. And it's unravels. Where are we at right now? Like, I mean, we've talked the numbers game. You're sitting at 2-6, 12-7 after starting 10-1. I mean, what's left?
So it just all depends on how you view things. So I do want to bring up the Q1 stat, which has been updated again this year. In his tenure at Cincinnati, Justin, Wes Miller is now 6-33 in quadrant one basketball games, including 0-4 this year. Not great.
Mm-hmm.
Not really what you would consider to be having a good time. So you made a really nice tweet over the weekend, Justin, and I agree with you. I think this is like the we've drawn our line in the sand compared to what our team looks like this year, especially against that top tier of competition. So if you I'm sorry, 0-6 this year against quad one teams, not really making it any better for myself. So if you choose to be an optimist, I'll give you your optimism route. We play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We played 12 more games this year, Justin. Only 5 are against quadrant one opponents. So if you really want to be a glutton for punishment, you think, okay, if we go 7-5 the rest of the year, 19-12, win 2 more games in the Big 12 tournament, then theoretically you could get yourself in the dance. Like you mentioned today, it all depends on whether they like the Big 12 or not.
Yep.
But Justin, the other thing though is that when you're losing games like that Kansas State game, which I'm still like just in utter flabbergastation that we lost that one. That one is just like what are we doing? And then you got your coach saying like sometimes you get your ass kicked when it's your sixth conference loss before the end of January. They seem to have just like fallen off completely from where they were last year. And I don't know if that's the different pieces on the team. I don't know if you're really missing John Newman or an older guy like Nollers Landy.
Landers, yeah.
Landers
Landers,
Nolly.
Nollers Landy.
Oh, sorry. But if you think about it, Justin, we don't really have like a strong vet presence this year. And I want to. You were putting up some good tweets this weekend, so I want to applaud you on that. But your tweet about Dan Skillings and Jeremiah Davenport kind of having the same stat line, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. I do think that. So here's the problem for me, Justin, and here's what I think has happened this year. And it's been a pretty consistent theme for us in the Wes Miller era is that we have the talent and we have like the athletes and we have the guys who can jump out of a gym or have really good speed, but I just don't know if we have like the basketball players, if that makes any sense at
Yeah.
all.
No,
Now,
it's the X
so
factor.
yeah, well, so to me, it's like, for example, like Dan, like there's still different moments where obviously he shows his talent and he's probably our best and most talented player, but he still shows the fact that he's just not played basketball for a very long time. And
Yep.
it's either like a shot at a different time, at an ill-advised time, or, just chucking up a three, like right at the end of the shot clock. It's just so many things and it feels like that permeates throughout the team where that like things are rushed, we are just not really getting confident sets. There's like not really much half court offense, and we end up with a bad shot near the end of like the shot clock, just because you get in your different rotations and you pass it around, and we're not really able to get that final shot because we either get an open three, just from our different cuts and we brick it, or we just don't have anything in the post. Like I don't really think Aziz and Aziz Dillon and Ayrton Page are bruising big men that can at least like go down and
Mhm.
get you a bucket. And I know that's not really a thing as much anymore in college basketball or professional basketball, to be honest. It's kind of going away to have a dominating big man. So it's it's not really something that I can say that, oh yeah, they should just develop that skill. It's not really a thing that they have, but it's just it's that, and then the regression from some of the guys this year is has been a little bit just kind of shocking, honestly. And
Mhm.
I still don't like calling guys out by name, Justin, just because I know, like, they're 18, 19, 20. I know how I would feel if
Yeah.
like someone I didn't know was talking bad about my name in front of the thousands of listeners that we have.
Oh, yeah. The thousands.
Thousands,
Yeah,
everybody.
for
You
sure.
should watch our download charts, especially as the team's been going downhill. Just
Mhm.
spiking right now.
Oh, for sure.
Um, it's just been very frustrating, and I think I get everybody's point. There's the sentiment has changed, and like the boo birds, for lack of a better term, have been out more on social media
Oh,
as
yeah.
of late, because and they're coming at Wes. And now, is he should he avoid all criticism because it's on the players? No, he should take some criticism because you can't fire the players, and he is ultimately responsible. Justin, this is his entire roster now. There's nobody
Yep.
left from the
0
pre.
excuses there.
Yeah. And also, I think fans are not going to be as willing to take an excuse for players when other programs, take, for example, Pat Kelsey down in Louisville. Like
Yep.
he took over for Kenny Payne's program, and basically has him on the cusp of the bubble, or in the field right now. Uh, there's just so many different examples, and I didn't want to be depressed over the weekend, so I didn't pull them all. But I just pulled, for example, like all the Power Four, Power Five coaching jobs that,
I was gonna
um,
ask you to run those off.
yeah. So
Why
I'll pull
not?
up my note real quick, but I've been rambling for a second. Justin, what is it to you? Like, is there
Yeah.
something you're seeing that I'm not? I'd love to pick your brain.
No, I mean, I think you hit a lot of the points. I think there's one thing about specifically Wes's comment after the BYU game, because I think the BYU game is where a lot of this stuff sort of comes to a head. And it's you come to this confrontational point in your season where, okay, it has the train completely fallen off the rails at this point, because when you lose to a team, granted, BYU statistically ranking wise is better than you. However, when you lose to a team that badly on the road, you have 0% of your identity. Your offense isn't working. Your defense isn't working. The whole comment from him about getting your ass kicked. Um, I think one person put this actually very elegantly. So I would like to give him a shout out. I'm actually going to read this comment because I think it says a lot in a very short 2 sentences. From our friend Nick Bauer. He's right. People do get their asses kicked. And where he's wrong is Cincinnati is supposed to be the team giving out the beatings, not taking them. And I 100% agree with that. And that's sort of the thing is like, again, like when you look at last year's team and you compare it to this year's team, I mean, how many games we put like a counter together? I think I'd have to go dig for the exact number, but how many games last season did we have end within 1 or 2 possessions? We had over 10, I think, that were in conference play that were within 1 possession, and you're that close to unlocking it. So you see all that from last year. You see all of the talent in the core that you return. Theoretically, that team is supposed to get A, better from talent, B, better from chemistry and development, and C, what they learned last year, they're supposed to apply and figure out this year. And a few of those losses that you had last year are supposed to convert into wins. Now, instead of that, what you're trading is last year, a win against a top 20 BYU team on the road in their house, 10 win game, sorry, 10-point win on the road, trading it for a 27-point loss. midway
against
through the season when you have time to develop. It's the first game. I would have given this excuse last year if you lost
yeah
the game, like, oh shit, that sucks. But no, they went out and won that game. And this year, it is about as opposite as you could get against a very similar opponent. Granted, different coach, different structure, different players. But in theory, they lost a really good coach and they lost their best player. They should have, quote unquote, been worse. And we retained all of our seniorized players. Like, we should have beat the shit out of them. But
yeah
instead, we got our ass kicked.
yeah
I
it's
mean, it just shows how it doesn't make sense. Nothing for the season makes sense.
right. And just to go through that carousel from 2021, just to show
Yeah.
like everybody the coaches that he is up against. So I tweeted it out the other night, but the teams that hired a coach in the 2021 coaching carousel and have not made the tournament since then are all not very traditionally good program, at least recently, very good programs. Utah, who we do happen to be playing later on after we're recording this podcast.
An hour
Um,
from now.
yeah, Boston College, Oklahoma, where Porter Moser is probably on the hot seat this year one in
Mhm.
the SEC. And they started out really hot, and they I think they've lost all of their SEC conference games, if not only won one. So it doesn't look like they're going to make the tournament either. But DePaul's coach got fired. Ben Johnson at Minnesota is in his fourth year, hasn't made the tournament. It's on the hot seat and probably won't make the tournament. So he'll probably be let go. And all these other coaches, just let me just list off some dudes for you, Justin, just real quick. The guys who are hired in that carousel: Chris Beard, Tommy Lloyd, Hubert Davis, Shaka Smart, TJ Otzelberger, and Micah Shrewsbury. All of those fellas have tournament wins. And Hubert
That's a
Davis
tough list.
went to the national championship game. Tommy Lloyd has made 2 Sweet 16s. TJ Otzelberger, who, if you guys don't know about Iowa State before he took over, they had won 2 games in the year 2020,
Yes.
2021. They were awful. And look at where they are now. Like they're, a top 5 program, right? Or top 5 team right now.
Look at
It's
what they
just
did
been
the
night and
next
day.
year,
Yeah. Yeah.
like the next
Completely
season.
complete change night and day. So I mean, like, I hate to say it, but I don't think we got the right guy here, and I don't think we have the money to fire him. So we're kind of in the same spot. We're kind of in that spot where you're just gonna have to eat it for another season, and then hope that something else happens or he steps down. Like, unless like they, one of our donors, it could be you. If you decide to win the lottery in this upcoming season, you might as well call your local booster or the UC booster staff. And I think I think everybody wants West to win. I don't think anybody is like really hating on the dude. I think you and I have been pretty vocal about our support for him. I think we obviously are like fans of the talent he brings in. It's a whole new level that UC has not really experienced since the Huggins days of the amount of talent that he gets. It's just that for whatever reason, when it gets to in between the 94 feet and on the hardwood, he's just not bringing it. Like he's not
Yeah.
fully there. And whatever reasons, like, you have, it's probably not good enough for a program like Cincinnati to miss the tournament for what looks to be the 5th consecutive season. And
I wouldn't even use the probably. It's not. It straight up is not good enough.
yeah, yeah,
It, it isn't.
well,
Like,
and the other problem too is that we're just not hearing much from, the athletic department, and I don't really know how much they can say other than that they're letting him go. I mean, everybody knows that the vote of, I think everybody has seen through like the dreaded vote of confidence that some athletic directors give about, oh, we love our guy and we support him, and and so it's more just that I think like fan levels are starting to reach toward apathy.
yep.
And if it's not for this next fella to come save us, then I I don't really know what's gonna happen, Justin, because how many it and I think there's been a couple of guys like this. I mean, honestly, look at Penny down in Memphis, just
Yep.
for a quick comparison. They're not really the same. I get that, but just hear me out. The amount of talent that Penny and Wes have brought in over the years, and Penny has 1 tournament win to show for it, and Wes has 0. I think Penny only has 2 tournament appearances to show for it as well.
Hmm.
At some point, no matter the guys you're bringing in or the amount of talent, like you have to win games. You have to get to that back to the tournament. Because Cincinnati, we see ourselves as one of those top basketball schools, and I know we're in. It's just like, do you know if you're going to get any better with this coach in the hardest basketball league in America? And
Yeah.
if you don't think you're going to get any better, your answer is kind of made for you, or that's your answer right there.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of the thing too, is I think it's a weird world that we're in, especially with just social media and everything. And I'm not going to be on a soapbox because it sounds like I'm getting there, but
I've been under a rock the last couple of weeks. Anything going on? I know Ohio State won. I think that's kind of what threw everything off
uh,
balance. But other than that,
everything's been downhill since that. Here's the thing. January as a month just sucks. But anyways, no, I think it's weird because we live in a world where like you want to like try to construe everything to say something nicer, and some people are just flat out cold, hard-hearted and mean. And I think that's the thing here with Wes is like everybody. I think there's very few people who like look at Wes and see him as like a person and think that there's a shtick or there's something that he's not who he is. Like he is a truthful, upfront, hard on his sleeve type of person. I think he's genuinely a good person. That's why people like him. That's why the players like him. That's why he's recruiting at this level. You have Jordan, you have the money, you have all this other stuff. You can have all that, but that's the difference between winning these recruits and not winning these recruits. And he started to do that. And you see that with even a guy like, say, Arrington, where he went to USC, he ends up coming back. You have all these things that work really well for Wes and why people like him. On the contrary, like you said, you have to also perform in these games. And that Q1 stat, I think, is just a glaring mark against your record. And it's at such a point that like you have to figure out how to turn that around. People have been willing to give you time, but now you have the money, you have the resources. We're in a completely different world where you could take, and this is making it sound really simple, but you could literally take any Schmo Joe off the street, give him the budget, give him the money, and let him recruit the players and say, "Hey, I got a scheme, I got a system. Can we make this work?" And you get them in that program, you get that coach in there. Some of these coaches, based on their X's and O's, are able to take these teams to the next level. And again, like you see last year compared to this year, you're already not really making progress. You're basically at the same point that you were. And if anything, it looks like it's trending in a really fast downhill slope. And so my concern is for Wes is the longer that this continues, the more of a hole you dig for yourself. And it's tough too, because yes, there's a lot of weight put on his shoulders, especially with football not performing. But there's an expectation and there's a level of there's a floor and there's a ceiling in this program. And we all know what the ceiling is. We know that ceiling is like realistically for this program in its current state, like the absolute ceiling, if everything went perfect and went good, is probably still like an Elite Eight. That's probably your ceiling. We haven't hit the second weekend in a long time. Let's
yeah,
be honest. But
yeah,
your floor, shit, man, we found the floor. We found the floor, and it's not what it is right now, but it's also not necessarily trending to be that direction. And that's the part that concerns me is when you see some of these other teams with these coaches that have been able to turn things around, flip it, and plug players in, plug a scheme and a system in year one or year two. A lot happens. And you take all of those moving parts and now you say, okay, cool. Guess what? We hired you to be an AAC coach. You are now a Big 12 coach. Your record reflects that you are not coaching at a good enough level to coach at the Q1 at the big time level. So, with that said, as long as he continues to lose these games and as long as he continues to let this thing unravel, it's going to be really hard for people to convince themselves to back this program. It's just it sucks because you don't want to like say something mean or put anything else out there because I really like Wes. We all want Wes to succeed. People are begging like, please just let us like what you're doing because we really like you as a person.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing as somebody that you work with. If they're a terrible performer but a great person, it's like, oh, that's my buddy. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, but I got to call him out. Like he's kind of stinking it up right now. And that's how it is for Wes. And I think he's just kind of feeling the heat right now. And you can't get your ass kicked. I'm sorry. This is not the program that you get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Actually, this will be my last statement on this and we'll move on. But I completely forgot to post this. I actually put this together because somebody on some tweet this past weekend asked somebody else, how many times or how often has a Cincinnati Bearcats team lost by like 20 or more points? And I pulled a full list, and I think I still have it in the drafts. I should still have it in the drafts. Let me check. I do. Okay. So here's the thing. This goes all the way back to 2005. This is as far as I've pulled back this information. So 20-point or more losses since 2005 from then until now. I'm going to list them off fast in order, oldest to newest season. 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. We're at 2 right now, and we still have a lot of games left. And we've clearly seen that we also still have a Houston and an Iowa State and other teams that have already kicked our ass in years prior. So it's kind of like, are you starting to lose that identity where it's like you protect your house, you protect your team, you protect the score, you protect your defense is your pinnacle? If this keeps happening, like, where does it stop? Where do you stop the bleeding? That
And
was
where
a
you
very
hope
long
to
rant. I'm sorry.
No, Justin, I completely agree with you. And where you hope to stop the bleeding, and honestly, kind of wondering if it's his last stand, is our man Sean Abayev, who
Mhm.
people are calling LeBron. Justin, like he is being called LeBron in in like random like Instagram posts, like, and he's left-handed, so I'm calling him Lefty LeBron. He is now a officially our second McDonald's All-American Game recruit in the past 15 years, backing Lance Stevenson from the 2010, 2009, 20. Well, so probably about last 20 years then. The 2009, 2010 team that Lance Stevenson was on for Cincinnati. He was in that McDonald's 2009 All American game. So Sean Abayev will be in the McDonald's All American game. Like I mentioned earlier, Cincinnati, one of 7 schools to have a player in both the men's and boys and girls McDonald's All American high school prospect game. So, Justin, I pose this to you:
Mm-hmm.
could Lefty LeBron like take Sean or take current LeBron James and make him left-handed? Could either of these players single-handedly lift Cincinnati up 10 more wins next year and finally get us into the tournament? Like, is it, and it's sad that we're already moving on to next year for me. And two, is this the level that it's going to take now for West to potentially save his job? Honestly, is like that he's going to have to rely on this one guy to really like bring us out of the depths, or else he is kind of out.
Steve, this is a really interesting situation because this is the first time. I mean, you could say that Jizzle James felt like this to a degree, but this is a completely different energy behind Sean. And this is the situation that I look at. I think a very good use case for how NIL has worked, how all this has shifted, and how freshmen get plugged into rosters and how things can turn around. Look at Rutgers. This is a very specific example, but they have 2 really highly touted freshmen that came in this portal this offseason. Dylan Harper, freshman for Rutgers, scoring 18 points, 18.6 points per game, 4.8 boards. That's behind other freshmen, Ace Bailey, scoring 19.8 points, 7.9 boards. You have 2 freshmen on that team, and that team is, I mean, those guys independently are very, very good. But guess what? They're 13th in the Big Ten. They're 10-10. It's you can have all this talent and you can dump all this money into these players and get everything to seem like it's going to work right. But again, if you don't have the scheme and if you don't have all the pieces in place, cool, you're going to have a guy walk in and you're going to have him walk right out. Both of those guys are going to be NBA draft prospects. They're not going to stick around. They're one and done. We know, we've already heard the conversation from Sean. He wants to be a one and done. It's a very good situation for the Bearcats, assuming you keep him, which I don't think this is the type of guy who will up and go somewhere else. We're just not even going to really speak into any of that air. That's really bad, negative aura. We're not going to give it any light of day, really. But this is a type of player that is looking to be in here and out and wants to go to the next level and wants to use Cincinnati as his path to do that. So graciously, you can hope that that works. Here's where I think you have the best situation possible. You have to return Jizzle again. You're probably going to return Dan if he's not getting the NBA love, which if his performances of late have started to slow him down a little bit, I think. And he wants to go to the draft. I think he could stick around. But here's where the issue lies is, okay, these guys are maybe having a not for Dan, but say for Jizzle and for some other players, maybe having a sophomore slump for the Bearcats. Do they get better next year? Do things start to roll? I think they do. The thing is if you can get those guys, they've got the chemistry, they've got everything sort of in lockstep, things are starting to get better. If you can, again, what all the hype about this year is keep that core, keep that chemistry, keep everybody together, and then you can add a guy like this. I think dimensionally, it changes everything. I really think it does because you have somebody who is a absolute bucket getter, who is a playmaker, who is a one-of-a-kind player, who's somebody that we have not seen. I mean, I think it's his game really isn't comparable to any player that we've had in quite some time. And so I think when you plug Sean into the success of what would work in theory for this Bearcats team, I think that he can help turn this thing around. I really do. But my concern too is if he helps turns it around and puts up the numbers and puts up the stats and looks good, he's already on NBA draft watch lists for that class. So it's kind of one of those things where it might work out for you, but does that really give you long-term success if he succeeds?
Yeah.
And that's all is all if and hypothetical. You know?
For sure. Just frustrating that we're at this point. Like I should be excited. I should be like saying, oh, just imagine how good we're going to be with Sean next year. And now it's just more like, help us, save us. You're our only hope. Get us off this life. It's not great. Not what you want.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, my biggest concern and where I look at this roster going into next year is you're gonna struggle probably to return some players. I think we got really lucky this year that we maintained so much of that core. You're probably gonna keep your Betsy's, your McKinley, you're gonna get back. Rayvon, I have no idea. But then you go up to like Jizzle and Arrington and Dan. Now you're already starting to get up there. You're gonna have some juniors and some seniors, and then Dylan, cool, but everybody else past him is a senior. So like you're going to lose a lot of this core this year because you have a lot of fifth years, grad students, seniors. Like your eligibility is getting really low, and the guys that you were expecting to be your big performers this year. And so a lot of that weight is going to go on some of these guys who are, yes, getting minutes, but are not necessarily the go-to bucket kind of guy. So I think that's part of where my concern lies. And I'm hoping that, like I said, hoping that it all works out and they figure it out. But who knows? Maybe Sean is the savior and the salvation for this program. And if
Would
not,
be nice.
Then I think it's going to be fun regardless. So it's whether or not this team turns automatically overnight into a tournament Sweet 16 level team is yet to be seen. But I don't know. I mean, I think the success of this guy is gonna weigh heavy on Wes going forward.
Yeah, seriously. And it's just more that it's just not great. It's not the position you want to be in your fourth year, where you're going to miss the tournament again, and then you have to rely on, albeit a very good high school recruit, but still a high school recruit who's stepping into the Big 12, and you're going to have to rely on him to really like just blow you out of the water. So, um, it's just frustrating.
It is very frustrating, unfortunately. Steve, less frustrating things. Guess what? We have a new promo code for our friends Charlie Hustle. Um, Steve already mentioned it on our Twitter. He's going to mention it later in our Bearcat Sports wrap up. But guess what? There's 17 days left until baseball starts. And you know what that means? Steve's getting off the screen because he's taking up room. That's right. We're talking about the Bearcats baseball tee, a fantastic addition to your closet. I still think this is my favorite thing on the website. And it's definitely a great pickup, very comfortable. Again, good flex item for, even a warmer day like today. Here in Nashville, it was about 50 degrees. The sun was out. It felt great. Vibes are good. So why not add a beautiful shirt like this to your closet and get ready for baseball season starting in just 2 weeks from now on Valentine's Day? Going to be very exciting. Fun start to that season. So make sure to head over to www.charliehustle.com. Use that promo code 1012 network. No longer 101215, 1012 network to get you your 15% off of your non-sale items. That code is going to be good as long as we keep giving it to you. So again, head over to www.charliehustle.com, use that promo code. And just a reminder, if you are going to be heading out to Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament, Charlie Hustle's got a booth, and Charlie Hustle's store is in Kansas City. Check it out. Tell them your friends Viva La Cat sent you, and get you hooked up. Get you hooked up with some great Bearcats gear. Steve, the man. Where's the man? Our reporter.
Where's he been? It's been like a month, man. Like,
I
is this what
know.
happened to me? I just kind of stepped away and just kind of forget like where someone is, just goes off yonder, like disappears, thinks
It
he's
could
more
be.
important than us,
He could. He probably
thinks
does
he's
think he's
prettier
more
than
important
me.
than us. Yeah, boo Gophers. We'll move on for the time being, and we'll swing back around. Joel is going to give us a live report of a first ever taste test. Not first ever for our show taste test of the new Skyline ice cream. So stay tuned for that in a minute. But before we do that, we're gonna do the Viva La Cash and Big 12 head-to-head segment. Steve, catch us up, please.
Yes, Justin. So it's been kind of honestly, this has been one of my favorite parts of keeping up with basketball season is that I get to follow the rest of the league instead of just the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, man, we are all neck and neck. It's pretty impressive to see what this league looks like right now. So, unfortunately, Justin, for your team, the Iowa State Cyclones, Caleb Love from my Arizona Wildcats, hit a miracle three-quarter court shot to send the game in Tucson last night to overtime, where Arizona eventually pulled out the win. Arizona, by the way, pulled out to a 14-6 right now after starting conference play at like 5-6 or 6-5, something like not great. Shout out to them. They looked like they're like second in the league right now. They look pretty good. So Justin, you are unfortunately the only one who is going to be doing some exercising at this at
I need
current
it. It's
live
okay.
table standings. So you have a differential of -1. You currently have 49 wins among your four teams across the season, and the rest of us, including the Ghost, we all have 50 wins this year. So it's definitely slowed down a lot, obviously, since conference play happens, and
Mm-hmm.
now, like once we're getting down into February and March, it's really like back and forth. Like
Oh
the
yeah.
one, like those head-to-head matchups are going to decide some things. So just real quick, I'll just keep it to our top performers this week from each group. Um, Iowa State, Justin, as I mentioned, they went 1-1 on their Arizona road trip. They are 17-3 this year, and hey, Iowa State fans, Cyclone Larry, I saw your tweet. I'm sorry, my friend. I know you put that up with like 2.2 seconds left, thinking, oh yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had that happen to you. I'm sorry, Cyclone
That's why
Larry.
you don't tweet till the game's over, brother.
Just don't tweet in general. I think it's
Just
honestly
don't.
better. Well, Cyclone Larry, I want you to tweet, my friend, but maybe just stay away sometimes. So, um, Shout out to Iowa State, 17-3. Did they the Iowa State fans came out in such force to my current hometown of Phoenix, Arizona, and went to that Bobby Hurley called his home game for Arizona State against Iowa State a home neutral game because there were so many Iowa State fans. So
Interesting.
shout out to them. I mean, hey, if you're in Iowa right now and you have a chance to get to the lovely state of Arizona and just beautiful weather, I would take it if I were you. So I don't blame you. Joel's squad, Kansas, currently playing as we record against UCF, down at halftime. By the way, they are 14-5 right now. So he's their best squad, but Joel has experienced a couple of setbacks with Cincinnati and Arizona State, kind of falling away a little bit. Houston, for me, 16-3, currently undefeated in league play. They have just seemed to turn it on
Oh yeah.
once the new calendar year started. So they might be rolling ball and knives. So Bearcats fans, watch out. That that one might get ugly.
I don't
Um,
think this is gonna be the year. I said it wouldn't be from the start of the season, and it ain't gonna be this year
you
either.
you play at the Fertitta the second to last weekend of the season. That yeah. Well,
You know, conveniently, the only team that I'm not upset that we don't play twice a year anymore.
yeah,
Very
I'm good with it. Yeah.
conveniently, I'm fine with that.
No
100%.
thanks. I don't want any of that. No,
None of
thank
that
you.
smoke.
And then for our ghost team, Texas Tech, shout out to them. 15-4 this year. They handed our ass to us on a platter last week. So they Grant McCaslin, by the way, a coach that was hired within the last 4 years, seems to be doing pretty well. So um, I think I will mention that any chance I can
I
to
would just like to add this because this is a team that I find very interesting right now. Currently projected to make the tournament question mark. UCF 13-6. Very interesting. And like I told Joel while we were drafting, why? Why oh why did you have to not pick UCF in that round?
yeah.
Um it's tough. You can't leave them because they were a sneaky, interesting team. I made my choices, and I'm sad that the choices that I made included K State and Utah, because neither of those teams are good, but especially not K State. Oh my God, they are terrible. But still better than the Bearcats.
Hey,
So
you get K-State at home on CBS Sports Network, and they look like world beaters, man. They beat West Virginia on Saturday night, and they were leading by
mhm,
like 17 points to start the game. I was like, that was my tweet. I was like, hey, anybody who goes into Manhattan and plays on CBS Sports Network, you're expected to get that work.
you're
Jerome
right.
Tang only plays well on CBS Sports Network. It's his favorite network.
That's very true. West Virginia, too, I will say, is a very interesting team this year, just in general. They can lose
And
any game and win any game.
the other thing that's helping us too on the ghost team, kind of the offset of UCF, Colorado has not won a game yet in league play. So
Mhm.
we'll see if they pick one off. I don't think they play us this year, but I would have given them good odds to to beat beat us.
We beat Colorado already. We're fine.
Well, I mean, you never know. And then my two teams that are bringing me down are TCU and Oklahoma State. Those teams are kind of fighting for the bottom there. So not great,
Yeah.
not great.
Bottom of the barrel.
Justin, real quick, since people will hear this after the game. It's kind of just you and me for fun. Utah is favored by 1.5 tonight, and my four-letter sports app is saying that the over/under is 138.5. We're about 30 minutes from tip-off, actually. What would you make your what would your selection be for tonight? Sorry, I mangled that.
What would your
Mangled.
schlong be tonight? Say real quick, one more time. Establish the numbers.
Utah minus 1.5, over under of 138.5 points.
130 and a half. Take the under for sure. Take the under. That is a higher under than we've seen in a long time. And it's against my better judgment. Take the Cats. Take the Cats. This is if you're gonna say that this team is, I mean, it's literally this. If you lose this game, guys, this whole thing is a wash. Like if you lose to Utah at this point in the season, it's done. So take the Cats to cover and take them to win too.
I'm gonna be the
Take them to win.
the fan from Major League and be like, "You guys all stink. You're all terrible." And I'm gonna go with Utah -1.5. I think Gabriel Madsen, and his brother Mason Madsen, who we might be familiar with. I think they just got it tonight. And you know what, Justin? Red teams have been really just crushing it over the last week and a half or so. Really making just people like hurt and cry. So
Yeah.
I do think that Utah should um, join that way. They will unfortunately, I think, make us feel that way. But you know, if we're wrong, then I will be the happiest wrong person. I will say, Justin, that I made money off of betting the Kansas City Chiefs in the preseason to win the AFC, and that's called the old emotional hedge. So it's kind of what I'm doing for this game as well.
How much do you make, Steve?
Um, I made if I was putting down one unit, I made plus 300 on that one unit. So
Very nice.
we did all right. We
Impressive.
got unit shamed a couple weeks ago on Twitter. I do
Oh,
want to
yeah.
say real quick, there's no unit shaming, especially when you won, Justin. No,
Yeah.
we don't unit shame on this
Let's
podcast.
unit shame because guess what? You know what happens when you unit shame? You just tell everybody else that you lose more money than everybody else because nobody wins when it comes to gambling. That's all
Oh,
I
I
have to say
put
about
down $5 on a crazy parlay that never
that.
hits every weekend,
Ooh.
or I put down $100 on every bet, and I'm in crippling gambling debt, and my wife won't talk to me anymore. Whoa, I'm so much cooler than you.
I'm so cool, I have to call the hotline. Speaking of hotlines, it's time for Hotline Bling. We're adding our beautiful boy, Joel Spencer, finally back. Not really, but still back for this episode. Tell us what it is you are going to try the Skyline ice cream. We've already seen a few people do it. You're going to do it for us. Joel, do it for us, please. Also,
Uh,
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. We are in the thick of the move. I'm also in the
Mm.
thick of going back to school. Go Gophers!
Sky your mom,
But
row the boat.
yeah, definitely a very chaotic time of our lives right now. So thanks for steering the ship. Obviously, I only rejoined back in the fall when Steve left, but you guys are doing a great job as always. And yeah, thanks for letting me take this leave of absence. But look, boys, the talk of the town this week is the Skyline ice cream.
Mhm.
Skyline spices, not actual chili in ice cream, with bits of oyster cracker in it.
With
Uh, we
actual
went to
crackers.
we went to three separate graders to find this. My wife went to Mason and Kenwood on her way home from work, and I swung by the Marymount location and got some of the last pints that they had available. This was just released on Monday, and I picked up my pints at about 6:30 on Monday. So it sold out very, very quickly. They still have it in scoops. They still have it, I think, in little like cups at certain Skyline locations that you can try as well. But we got the pint.
We
Oh, it's
got the pint.
beautiful. Look at it.
Look at how
Yes.
Look at
gorgeous
it.
this is.
Oh, she's
Skyline
beautiful.
spice.
And going back to some college terms, we've got our shot and we've got our chaser.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
couldn't go to graders without getting the goat, of course. But
Now, Joel, are you going to? Do you have Skyline hot sauce at your home?
not Skyline specific hot sauce,
No.
no.
Well,
Mm.
try that on
Um,
your own sometime. But because I have seen people saying they've added the hot sauce to the ice cream and they like it. But Joel, without
Interesting.
further ado, please let us know. Please indulge your taste buds for the pleasurement of our viewers and ourselves.
All right.
Look at
We're
that purty
opening this
mouth.
bad
Here, hold
boy.
on. We're gonna center
Ooh.
stage this boy.
So please enjoy my brand new guest room, no decor on the walls. But yeah, we got a nice little ice cream. Smells like cinnamon right off the bat. I don't like being the only one on screen. This is very intimidating. But bone apple teeth. Very cinnamony. So here's the thing, boys. I went into this with the thought, because I saw a lot of feedback online, that it is very similar to pumpkin pie. I gotta say, it kind of tastes like pumpkin pie. I mean, at least the cinnamon, like the cinnamon side of it, and all the different spices that they use in the chili. Like
Yeah.
it definitely is very. It gives that cinnamon forward taste. So
Are you getting any? Like that cinnamon toast crunch vibe from that?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I want
Boys.
you to find a cracker in there and see if you can get a
Yeah,
cracker.
for real.
Oh, you mean hold on, I don't want to drop it on my laptop, but you mean that bad
Yeah,
boy?
there we go.
Yeah,
There we
there it
go. Look
is.
at that. Oh, she's
See,
pretty.
does it
That
have the
cracker right there.
is it soggy? Is it like a soggy, crunchy cracker? Is it
It's crisp.
crunchy? It's crisp?
Ooh,
Good.
That's crunchy right there.
nice, nice. I
It
wonder how
doesn't
they
it's
did
not
that.
like a cold, like, it doesn't hurt your teeth.
I wonder how that did they like freeze
No,
dry it or something? Mm. Oh man, look at that pretty mouth.
Speaking of
but
pretty
I
mouth,
gotta
I went to
say
the dentist
the
today.
so the crackers do have the salt on them, so you get a little sweet and salty with it.
Ooh,
Mm.
that's good.
Yeah, I saw people on the Cincinnati Reddit page putting cheese and hot sauce on their
Oh,
scoop of
come on.
ice cream too.
Just can't help themselves, can they?
Now, just if I were a true sicko, I mean, I do have a can of Skyline downstairs. I could and we have like a ice cream maker attachment. I
Milkshake.
could try to make like like see if it's actually any good. It's probably not, I trust graders. Like they're not making bad flavors of things. So if they
Very
deemed
true.
that the chili itself in the ice cream was not great, then I'm willing to believe them. But
I don't know if you can pack the meat in. I mean, you could do this. You could do the sauce. Like the sauce is independent from the meat, so you
yeah,
could just do the Skyline like chili sauce aspect and put it into the ice cream. But that really, I think, would be a little bit more off-putting from our people. I'm actually almost a little disappointed that it's not just like a brown swirl in there. I really wanted to see the chili swirl,
It,
maybe a little cheese. Just get real gnarly with it.
just a touch of hot
guys,
sauce.
it's tasty. It,
Mm.
it's solid.
Joel, do you
Like,
know anybody with a Ninja Creamy? I have an idea.
I mean,
but
Justin, I have the KitchenAid version of that basically.
Okay, so we need to get Steve a version, and he's going to combine a Skyline can of chili, the cheese, the crackers, and the hot sauce, and the ice cream all into one. And you're going to make it, and you're going to
I
try it.
I do have like just a spare vanilla ice cream in the freezer, so I'll come back to you. Maybe next week, Justin, if we like decide to win some games, maybe I'll celebrate on this here show with some
That'd be very nice.
with some Skyline ice cream. Joel, would you like to enjoy your Bearcat, Boldly Bearcat? Did you get that fresh, by the way, or are they still selling it right now in stores?
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
so I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast. So Boldly Bearcat first came out years ago as a very limited edition flavor.
Like 2018, I think, right?
Gosh,
It was like the
maybe
bicentennial
20,
for UC or
maybe. But it was very limited edition, and not like a rotation flavor. Like it was get it while it's hot, and so it instantly became my favorite Grater's flavor. It's a red velvet
Unfortunately, at the time.
ice cream with cookies and cream and their massive ass chocolate chunks in it. How
Oh,
can you not love that? So, because it was limited time only, I walked into a Kroger, very right time, right place, and they had just stocked Boldly Bearcat. This was like the last week of January when it was, the last chance to get it. I bought 12 pints of Grater's ice cream
You sicko.
and put them in my brother-in-law's deep freezer. And for each month of that year, I would break out a Boldly Bearcat because it was that good. And then the following year, they made it a regular flavor. But I made myself a year supply worth of Boldly Bearcat before it was ever a thing.
that's why we have you on this show. You're smart.
An extraordinaire.
It's so good. And I don't know if I'll be able to secure that many Skyline ice creams, but I know I am going to try and get a couple more pints for you boys next time you're in town so that you can try it.
I was confused about that. Was it just like a 1-day drop, or are they just are they like, is there still more that's going to be like stocked, or
So you didn't hear this from me,
Oh.
but a little birdie told me that they are restocking.
Okay.
And it was just the initial drop that was so well received. I mean, Friday was the announcement of like all the social media personalities and Cincinnati, like just bigger names that got to try it. And then it became available on Monday, and that's where it was just completely sold out everywhere. So hard to get. But I did hear it's on upcoming Graders deliveries. So I'll try and get you boys some. And next time you're in the lovely Queen City, you can pop on over and try it.
Wonderful.
Must try it.
It's definitely a must try. If you can't get a pint, still go to Graders, get a scoop. I'm interested in how a milkshake would be with that.
That's what I'm saying. I think a milkshake would be pretty fire. So here's my question though. You gave a initial flavor, you got it on the table. Give us one more taste. We need a rating out of 10. You can use a decimal if you must. And where
If you
does it stack
must.
up? If you
We
must.
have to use
All right.
decimals. Come on.
Well,
And where you would place it against all of the other Graders ice creams. Is it like a top 5, top 3?
well, one bite, everybody knows the rules with Boulder Bearcat. Boulder Bearcat's definitely like a 9.7. Like that, you can't go wrong with that. My wife and I are sharing the Skyline. This is the first time both of us have tried this.
Oh, wonderful.
So let me get another oyster cracker in here.
Dude, my
Oh,
mouth's
gosh,
watering. This is sad.
That's the stuff.
Yeah, I have not.
This
eaten
is
dinner yet,
this is
Justin.
great radio for anyone listening in the car or at work.
That's why you should be watching. That's why you should be watching the show.
Can you make more slopping ASMR noises?
Mm-hmm. Guys, it's not bad. This is like a 7.4.
7.4. Okay.
Wow, that's
Not
pretty
bad.
good. Yeah.
It's really not.
Okay. So then,
it sounds so much worse than it is. It truly is just like nutmeg, cinnamon, hints of whatever else spices you want to throw in there, and you got some nice crunch from the oyster crackers, which they made Chunky Hippo with peanuts in it. They make plenty of different. They had a seasonal flavor this summer that had chilies in it. That was actually very good. It's definitely not a top 5 flavor. Like I can list 10 flavors that Graders offers right off the bat that I would probably eat before this, but in terms of two Cincinnati icons coming together on a collab, they knocked it out of the park. It's good.
very
If
good.
you control the Skyline spice, you control Cincinnati.
So Joel has already clearly told us his favorite flavor is Boldly Bearcat. Steve, we have to say our favorite Bearcat, or not our favorite Bearcat flavors, but our favorite Graders flavors. And I think this would be a good time to move on to the sports wrap up.
Yes, really, really quickly, Justin. Mine, I'll stick with the classic because I do love Boldly Bearcat, but if I'm going with the classic, the black raspberry chip.
I knew you were going to say that.
I can get it, Justin, here in Arizona because Kroger gets Graders and Skyline shipped directly to them. So
brilliant. My favorite, Elena's blueberry. It is just great. It's a seasonal flavor, unfortunately, but when it comes around, oh boy,
good choice.
I could eat all of those pints.
So my favorite current seasonal flavor is strawberry chocolate chip. They have a strawberry year round, but the strawberry chocolate chip is only for like a month or two, I think late spring. And then they also have peppermint is the December and I think November flavor. But they have for truly like one weekend only, they offer peppermint chocolate chip as well.
Oh, that is so good. Yeah.
So
that
is very tasty.
There was like a limited drop of a midnight snack ice cream that had like chocolate and pretzels like in it, and it's like the same idea as like that oyster cracker, right, Joel?
That's a regular flavor, bud.
Oh, it is a regular. I mean, hey, I've been away for almost 3 years now. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore.
Move back to Cincy. You're missing out, bud.
Well, maybe you'll hear about that.
Moving back to Cincy, maybe they should make a burrito flavor because it's the Bearcat Sports Wrap Up, and we've got to get it covered. Steve, please, without further ado, give us the Bearcat Sports Wrap Up, and let's get out of here after an hour and 10 minutes of speaking. Hit it.
Yes, sir. Speaking of hitting it, baseball season begins 17 days from this recording, 16 days from the time you are listening. Cincinnati
Great transition.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I've been working on them. I've been talking to myself a little bit. People have been confused as to why there's a man talking on the street to himself in transitions. But anyway, Cincinnati was picked to finish 10th in the preseason Big 12 poll, but they will look to overachieve their preseason poll pick from last year and get back to the NCAA tournament. Infielder Carrington Cross, utility man Christian Mitchell, and starting pitcher Nathan Taylor were named to the preseason All Big 12 team. And the season starts Valentine's Day with a 3-game set against Duke in Durham. So that's that's the way you want to start it out. And then first home game, February 18th. Who says we're not trying to enjoy some summer right now? People are buying ice cream in droves in the last week of January in Cincinnati, and we've got baseball coming up in less than 3 weeks on the campus of Cincinnati, of the University of Cincinnati. So I think the people are just trying to just fight through the cold and just enjoy, just skip all the way straight to spring. So
Fast forward button, baby.
speaking of fast forward, tennis team won 2 matches. Whoa, look at that. Oh, so beautiful. Oh, I'm in love. The tennis team won 2 matches this past Saturday against Eastern Michigan and Oakland, and they will host Butler this upcoming Saturday at the Western Athletic Club on my beloved west side of Cincinnati. Shout out. Swimming and diving, they will meet with Louisville this weekend in Kentucky after finishing second in a tri-team meet in Louisiana this past weekend. So shout out to swimming and diving. Women's golf, they will start their spring season at FAU next week in the FAU Paradise Invitational in Boca Raton, Florida. So good on them to getting to enjoy Florida in early February. So that's awesome. Track and field, real quick. The program recorded 3 event victories and 4 UC all-time top 10 marks over the weekend at the Crossroads of America meet in Indianapolis. Real quick, here are the field events that Cincinnati athletes won. Weight throw, women's weight throw. Hannah Blood threw the weight throw for 18.4 meters, and she won that event. Shot put, for the women, Amanda Nagandu Ntumba threw it 16.57 meters, so she won that event. And for the women's long jump, Nadia Collins, she won that event with a 6.05 meter jump. And then for the track events, we won the 200 meter. You know what? I'm noticing that these are all like top 5 finishes. So let's just skip that part. Shout out to the track and field team. You can find out more on gobearcats.com. And to finish up, the hockey club, they swept Bowling Green this past weekend in a home and home, and they will play Indiana this upcoming weekend for a 2-game set in Bloomington. So that is your Bearcat sports wrap up. Maybe they'll make a Cholito flavor ice cream next.
Dude,
Boys.
Cholito flavor would be
I'm going to
awesome.
leave you with this. I'm going to have a bite of Skyline Spice ice cream.
Don't do it. Don't
with
do it.
A bite of Boldly Bearcat with the full Oreo on it.
Oh, boy.
You sicko. This is radio.
How is it?
My mom is so cold.
That was beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, Joel, why don't you just join us real quick and Justin, why don't you end the show? And while Joel's here, he can join us in ending the show the right way.
So, thank you very much for joining us this week on a little bit of a more lengthy episode. We, of course, are the Viva La Cats podcast, covering all things Bearcats every single week throughout the season of football and basketball, and sometimes during the summer. So, thank you for checking that out. Head on over to the 1012 Network website as well as the Twitter. Give them a follow and make sure to check out all the other shows covering everything Big 12. Lots of great coverage there. Shout out to our sponsors, Charlie Hustle, for always bringing the heat with that vintage merch. And boys, I mean, shout out to Skyline. Shout out to Graders for just making a beautiful combination of what the world perceives as a disgusting abomination, but we all know is truly, truly beautiful. Thank you.
Graders, much like the Big 12, we are open for business, so hit us up.
We are always open for business, and we do consider this a free ad, but
I will also shout out Graders and Skyline. If you want any social media personalities from Viva La Cats that might live local in Cincinnati to promote any upcoming products, just let us know.
Yeah.
I think that can be arranged.
Yeah, and I mean, if we curse too much, maybe we can just, tone it down a little bit.
Bleep, bleep.
Yeah, bleep, bleep. Nothing like that.
Bleep.
Again, thanks, guys. Take it easy. Have a great week. Here's hoping the Bearcats can get a win in starting in the next 10 minutes. So we will see you next week. Viva.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.